Okay, so what if I told you the secret to a richer, fuller life wasn't about winning some epic battle against your own thoughts? What if it was actually about learning to live alongside them? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into a really fascinating approach called acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT for short, that promises just that. So, to really wrap our heads around ACT, we first have to get a handle on the exact problem it's trying to solve. You know that feeling, right? That constant internal tug of war where it feels like your own mind is your biggest enemy, just holding you back from the life you actually want to be living. We've all been there. And here's the kicker, the real paradox at the heart of it all. The more you try to wrestle with those difficult thoughts, pushing away anxiety, arguing with that voice of self-doubt, the stronger they seem to get. Think of it like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. You can push and push, but eventually that thing is going to burst right back up to the surface, probably with even more force than before. So, if fighting that beach ball is just a losing battle, what's the alternative? Well, ACTI offers a pretty radical idea. What if you just stopped fighting? Get this. The goal of ACT isn't to get rid of bad feelings. Not at all. It's to build a meaningful, rich life despite them. It's really built on two huge ideas. First, accepting the stuff inside you that you can't control. And second, committing to actions on the outside that actually make your life better. Now, to really see what makes ACT so different, it helps to put it next to a therapy you've probably heard of, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. You see, a lot of traditional CBT is about challenging and changing your negative thoughts. ACT comes along and says, hang on, let's not fight them. Instead, the whole idea is to just accept that they're there and pour all that energy you were using to fight into actions that are guided by what truly matters to you. Okay, so how do we actually do this? ACT isn't just some big, lofty idea. It's a super practical toolkit for building something called psychological flexibility. And that's basically the ability to stay present and do what matters, even when your mind is screaming at you to do the opposite. And these are the 6 core skills of ACT, and they all work together beautifully. It kicks off with acceptance, just making room for those tough feelings. Then there's diffusion, which is about learning to see thoughts as just, well, thoughts, not commands written in stone. This helps you be here now, to be fully present in your life. And from that spot, you can connect with your observing self. That's the calm, steady part of you that knows it's more than just a collection of thoughts and feelings. All of that sets the stage for the 2 most important things, figuring out your values and then taking committed action to live by them. And that last part, your values, is, you could argue, the most important piece of the whole puzzle. It's really the engine that drives the entire ACT process. Now, in ACT, values aren't goals that you can just achieve and tick off a list. Nope. They're more like a compass. You can't ever arrive at west, but you can always be heading west, right? It's the same idea. Values like being a compassionate friend or living with creativity are directions that can guide your actions at any given moment. And this is why having that compass is so critical. Look, life is always going to throw some big, scary, emotional waves at us. That's a given. But when you are crystal clear on your values, they act like a lighthouse. They give you the steady beam of purpose and direction, pulling you forward and keeping you anchored even when you're in the middle of a storm. Okay, that all sounds great, but how in the world do you actually figure out what your values even are? Well, ACT has this simple but incredibly powerful thought experiment to help you do just that. It's called the magic wand exercise. And I want you to really, really imagine this for a second. If you could wave a magic wand and poof, all your anxiety, your self-doubt, your fear just vanished, what would you do differently? What kind of life would you start to build? It's about looking past all that internal noise to see what truly, deeply matters to you. And here's how you can actually use this. First, you just vividly imagine that ideal life. Then you look for the values that are kind of hiding inside that vision. Is it about connection, courage, maybe creativity? Then comes the most important step. You don't wait for the bad feelings to go away. You identify one small, tiny thing you can do today to move toward those values, bringing them into your life right now. So this is a really compelling framework, and it has some powerful tools. But does it actually work? Let's take a quick look at what the science has to say. So, a huge systematic review of the research found that yes, ACT has shown some really beneficial effects for people dealing with a whole range of challenges, things like PTSD and insomnia. A key finding is that it's especially good at reducing what scientists call experiential avoidance, which is just a fancy term for fighting your feelings. And doing less of that can lead to much better emotional regulation in the long run.
Now, in the spirit of good science, we've got to be honest here. That same review points out that there's still work to be done. A lot of the existing studies have their limitations. So while the results are definitely promising, researchers agree we need more big, high quality studies to really confirm just how effective ACT is and for who.
At the end of the day, ACT offers this profound invitation to stop the war within yourself and instead focus all that energy on building a life that truly matters to you. So it will leave you with that question to think about. If you waved your own magic wand and your inner struggles no longer had the final say, what would you do? And maybe more importantly, what's one small step you can take in that direction today?